Tēnā tātou ko tae mai ki tēnei akoranga o ngā mahi e pāna ki ngā tuituinga o ngā mahi whakairo rākau ara ko te whakare. Welcome everyone to these tutorials on, or this tutorial on those patterns that relate to traditional Māori carving. I'm Mike Matchitt from Te Whānau Apanui, and I will be your guide today. Kia ora anō, nau mai hoki mai. So in this episode we're going to be getting into a little bit of carving. So in the previous one it was about drawing, and this one carving, but with a little bit of a twist. And we're going to be cleaning up. So by that I mean we're going to be carving those designs that were practiced in the first part in soap. So everyone has a kitchen knife, most of us have soap, so let's get into it. So the first part of this is we're going to carve a koru, since that's what we started off drawing. You can see in front of me that we have raperape, unaunahi, punga were were, and half a feku, or head and profile, side shot. But for this first one, I'll show you how to carve a koru. So ideally what you want to do is draw it on, but I'm just going to freestyle it, and however you do it, that's up to you. At the end of the day, it's all about having a bit of fun and experimenting with things. So where are we? So that first cut that I made was a lining out cut. It's just to give me something to cut against and to define the basic shape of the first part of this koru. You can get in there and clean up however you want to. So I'm starting off with the bulb or the pito of the koru, and just removing the waste from around it. So we already have a line in there, care of the design of the soap. So there's your lining out cut on a slight angle. So there we have the long outside line of the koru, and then we'll do the inside line. So starting from in here, I got check cut, and there's your line cut there, and then come in and remove your waste. Now whether you're using a piece of soap or even a potato, potatoes are another good one because you get to eat the finished article. But if things get a little bit dirty, well, if you're carving soap you can always wash up afterwards. Bit of a dad joke there. Okay, so that's the basic koru cut out of soap. You can tidy that up. You can also do a few more cuts, so you can round it over, give it a little bit more shape, maybe put in a little bit more detail. Your knife doesn't have to be all that sharp. I suppose just sharp enough for peeling potatoes. Clean up around the edges a little bit more, trim them up so that things look a little bit rounder. Try to remember too, just as a safety tip, to always hold the point close to the point rather than up on the handle, because if you hold on the handle you've got all of that leverage and you're that much further away from the point where there's control. If you're over here, you slip, you might cut yourself. Another reason for using a blunt knife, just in case. Okay, now if you want to add detail to that, so if you want to put in some unahi or space fillers, you can make your lining out cut and then come in on a very low angle and clean that out so that you end up with a little bit of a ripple or a scale, and then just in front of it make another lining out cut on an angle and then come in again and clean that out. And then the final one, come in on an angle from 3 sides. And that's your koru. Okay, we'll move on to the next one, which is the rapirapi. Okay, just a little reminder, for those of you who are not so big kids, try to make sure there's a responsible adult around to supervise you while you're doing this, because we don't want anyone losing a finger. Sorry. Okay, so start off in the center in this case, and just do your lining out cut to make an S. And just as when you're drawing, follow that line around to the outside. Yeah, and from the corner right around till they connect up, and remove any waste. Try to keep it all in one place so it doesn't get spread out. On the corner, around, okay, so you can all see that. Now you want to come in on a low angle, just as we did with the koru, and remove that waste. So just take out a little bit at a time. You don't need to take out big chunks. Just take your time so you don't slip. Try to use your thumb to help act as a brake and to guide the point of the knife around as you follow those lines. Bit of a tidy up. So there's your raperape spiral, and then you can come in on an angle into those spaces and make a series of cuts, however they are. Try them out. Don't be afraid to experiment. So you can do these little triangle cuts in the corners. And help even up your lines, cutting around the outside. Even do a little unahi or scale. And the outside, straighten that line up. We even it up. And there's your raperape. You can sit here and pare away all those little loose bits, tidy things up, rub at it, and there we have a raperape. A little bit smaller and finer than that first one. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is unahi. You're following the same process, but the cuts are in slightly different places, and there are a few more cuts to do. So you have a centre cut, coming on one side and coming on an angle on the other side. Tidy it up. And then do the scales. Just doing 2 should do, given the space. And normally when I'm carving in wood, I would do 3, and as I said earlier, sometimes up to 7. And ideally, if you've got the time, which you will have, you would draw with a pencil the outline of the spiral first. I'm just freestyling here. There's your scale. And towards the middle, lean it over. Now, when you get to the front of that scale, you should stop and do a lining out cut so you don't break through and ruin what you've already carved. And come around on an angle, follow it into the center. lining out, cut along the front there, and then come in the centre. And then just as with the rapu spiral, you come into these spaces and fill them in whatever way you want based on the drawings that we've done earlier and the new skills you're acquiring. There. Okay, so slightly different version of the first tūnainahi. The next one we'll be doing is Pūngā Werewere, which is going to be fun because once again I'm not drawing it. Now, with rape, there was a check cut that was made round about that part of the soap. And then another check cut that was made in the middle of the design, or the line that you're cutting out. With Pūngā Werewere, you can see that it's in a different place. So you have to be mindful of that. Okay, so the next spiral we're going to do is Pūngā Werewere. Ideally you want to draw this on first rather than just guessing how I am. So what I'm going to do with this, just to make it a little bit easier, is to just lightly scratch some lines into there to represent the outline of my design, just so I've got something to follow. Given that it's a little bit more complex than rape, you want to have these lines put in. So I'm just adding in the rito. So the rito is this part here. Flying off there and there and there and there. So starting off with your check cut from the centre on an angle, holding the knife very close to the point so that you've got good control and there's less chance of slipping. And then come in and remove that waste. And then a check cut on an angle, and on that angle and cut around the rito on an angle away from it, and then check cut there, and then remove your waste. Right, now for the other side of it. So check cut right around. So remember, you're using your thumb to help you control the depth of the cut, and also for safety reasons, obviously. You don't want to be slipping. And then do your rito. 1, 2, and 3. And then the next one. Okay. And then just like Rapirape and Punga Werewere, you come in and do your fill-ins. Little bit of a tidy up. Okay, so yeah, I suppose you can use a little brush to clean out some of that, but essentially that's your Punga Werewere in soap. So we're back again with our Feku. Feku being that style of eye, so we're going to try and carve that in this. Now, you want to scratch the general outline of that in, so here's the mouth, top of the mouth, inside, and then a tongue, nose, and the eye, underside, top of the eye, first line for the head, and then top of the head, a little top knot, and of course where the ear goes. So once again, making sure that you're holding your knife nice and short, close to the point, that you've got maximum control on a slight angle away from the mouth. You make a check cut, turn it around, check cut that way, and then around the outline of the tongue, and then you can cut in a little bit deeper and remove that waste. And the same on the other side of the tongue. Deepen that check cut around the tongue and remove the waste. Now you want to define or separate that tongue from the mouth, so coming on a flat angle into that check cut and clean up around there. And that's your tongue and the inside of the mouth. Then along the top line of the mouth, make a check cut, not too deep at this stage. And then the underside of the eye, just a little bit deeper to the nose, and cut in around the nose. Now start off with the ear, around the ear, defining that outline, and at the same time removing waste. And then start to shape and define the shape of the ear, which is a sort of a rounded shape. And then you can round that over, sculpt it a little bit more. And you create a little bit of a dome. So that's the ear done. Just a little bit more there. Tidy it up. Okay. Now you want to make a check cut from the nose along the top line of the eye, and then that bottom line that defines the bottom part of the head, come on a steep angle and cut towards the nose, and then a check cut around the nose and remove that waste and give it a little bit of a clean up. Now follow the head into that check cut. So your knife's held on a flat angle and you're just separating the eye from the head and giving the head a little bit more shape. Now around the side of the nose, bit of a check cut, and then on an angle, very flat angle, cut down and towards the nose, and that will give the eye some shape, separate it from the nose, and then you just clean up that edge, give the nose a little bit of shape. And if you're feeling brave, on a flat angle, nose, flatten it off on an angle so it separates it from the top of the mouth. And then if you really want to, you can put in a nostril, a very flat angle, and then come in, clean it out and remove that waste, and there's your nostril. So tongue, top of the mouth, there's your ear, your nose and nostril, eye, your brow line, give that a good clean out. Now we want to define the top of the head. So define that, a little bit of a check cut, and then chip away at the top of the head, and cut away, check cut, and there's the little tiki. So there we have a pair of twins. Okay, so I hope you have fun with that. Maybe let me know sometime how you've gone, and keep your hands safe. Kia ora, no ora.